Hello, viewers. What prompted me to shoot today's video is pretty much the same reason that I started the YouTube channel to begin with. Um, Back when I started the channel, it was because I was reading a lot of blanketed statements on social media about life insurance, a lot of misleading things. But the difference is back then, the people making the statements were not life insurance agents. What prompted me to do tonight's video is because I was recently added on social media by an agent, and we didn't have any interaction. She just, I don't even know how she found me. Maybe we were in a group or something, or maybe she just did a search for agents. I'm not sure, but we didn't have any mutual friends or anything. But she friended me, and whenever anyone friends me, I glance over their page and I could tell that she was a life insurance agent as well. So, as some of you may know, I hope all of you know, but if you don't know, you're going to know now. September is Life Insurance Awareness Month. So she's been posting some statuses about life insurance this month, like many of us have been, to bring awareness. And so let me just say that this status isn't necessarily to bash another agent, but I just want to give you all some things to look out for, right? Um, so she was, she's been posting a lot of statuses, quite a few that I did agree with. And then she posted one that said, it said something about um, employer policies not paying out. So then a few days later, maybe 2 days later, she posted one that had pretty much the same sentiment, but it just made it seem like um, just what it sounds like. Employer policies don't pay out. So a lot of people came on the status and they were asking, for clarity. I was one of the people. I asked her, did she care, to share some, you know, more information on where she got her info from. Did she care to enlighten me on, what she meant? So she said to me, just like she said to everyone else who inquired, I'll inbox you. So I said, okay. So when she inboxed me, she asked me, was I an insurance agent? I said yes. She asked me what company I was with. I gave her, the answer. I told her, the name of my IMO and that I can write for many companies, all that, blah, blah, blah. So then she asked me the type of policies that I write and this and that and that and that. So, I'm engaging. I went ahead, I answered her questions. So then when I told her the type of policies I write, she had further questions. She wanted to know, why I would ever write a whole life policy or an IUL or, any other type of policy besides a term policy. So when she asked me that question, I already had a pretty good idea what insurance company she works for, right? Because she doesn't mention it on her page. Like I scanned through her page and there's no, she doesn't say what insurance company she works for. But I'm very familiar with this company and their agents are often very vague with their posts. They're often, um, and I'm trying to word this in a way because I don't want it to sound like I'm bashing this company. And I do have some fellow agents who are with this company, and they are stand up agents. And I'm not saying that this agent isn't a stand up agent, but what I will say is the way this particular company trains their agents, um, they train them in a way that they think that life insurance is pretty much a one size fit all type thing, right? And that a term policy is just going to work across the board for everyone. Although now this particular company, they have started offering what's called a final expense policy. So they have I think they realized that they had to start offering some kind of other coverage besides term, but that's not the topic of this video. So anyway, um, and when you're in the industry, you're kind of you develop a keen eye, and you kind of can tell when an agent is from this particular company, right? So she went into asking me, well, why would you ever write a whole life policy for someone or an IUL? Is it because of the commissions that you're paid off the policy? And it's very funny that she would even say that because, and I've only been with, well, I'll say I've only been with 3 life insurance companies. Well, that's not entirely true because I've had some contracts with some other companies, but I'm gonna say for the most part, long term, and where I do the bulk of my business, I've been with 3 life insurance companies. But from my experience, um, the term policies are the ones that, the way my contracts are set up, that I get paid the most money from, right? So for her to even say, why would you ever write a whole life policy or an IUL or anything like that, because when would that ever be in the best interest of a client? Is that just because of the commission that you're getting paid? I knew, what company she was from. I had an inkling when instead of coming in my inbox and giving me the information that I asked for and the information that she said she was inboxing me to give, she started asking all these questions. I had a feeling what company she was, but when she asked me that question, I knew. So I asked, I said, are you a blank company? Because I don't want to say the name of the company. Are you a blank, agent? And she came back and she said yes. And I told her that I figured, and I gave her the reason why I figured. And, she goes into um, defending the company and, all the reasons why the company is so great and all of that, right? So then she says to me, well, she goes into all the reasons why the company is great, and then she said, you still haven't answered my question. Why would you ever write, no, you still haven't answered my question. When would a whole life policy or an IUL ever be in the best interest of the client, right? And one of the things that I told her was that, I write policies based on what's in the best interest of the client, and also the client's preference. Um, so that was one of her follow up questions. When would it ever be in the best interest of the client? So when she came back and she said all of her reasons why this company was so great, and then you still haven't answered my question, I said, but I've answered several of your questions and you still haven't answered the one question that you came to my inbox to answer, right? So then she comes back and she said, well, have you read a job policy? So she's still not answering my question. Um, have you read a job policy? So I said to her, I'm going to wish you the best in your career, but this is not a conversation that I choose to continue with a blank company agent, right? So she goes into, well, why wouldn't you want to have the conversation with an agent from my company? It's just a simple question. When would you? And I said again, like I said, I wish you the best, but I'm not having this conversation with an agent from that company. So then she replied back and she said, I wish you all the best, and that was the end. But so the status, I mean, this video isn't really about her, but it's about the blanketed statement that she made. Employer policies, job policies don't pay out, which any informed agent, any knowledgeable agent, any agent who is looking out for your best interest will advise you. And I've done videos about it. I've said it in plenty of my videos. It's always best to have your own policy outside of your employer. And I'm actually going to post a link to an article that just gives an example of why that's important. Now, the employees in this particular article, they were retirees, but still, that's still a benefit that was supposed to be offered, that's supposed to have been available to them, and they kind of got the short end of the stick. So that video, that article will be, the link will be posted below. But so back to what I was saying, any agent that's looking out for your best interest, any agent that's knowledgeable will advise you to have a policy outside of your job, because anything can happen. The job can decide that they're no longer going to offer that benefit. There may be stipulations. Now, I do agree with what she said. Have you ever read a job policy? Which I have. However, many people do not. So there may be stipulations in your particular job policy that, okay, because a lot of times we don't read them. We're offered us what we don't get the physical policy in the mail like we would if you were to come to me and you were to get a policy. That policy would come to you in the mail. With a job policy, what you get is a certificate of insurance, and oftentimes, we don't read it. We don't know what the fine print is. So that could create a situation where a policy doesn't pay because we weren't aware of what the stipulations was. Some of the common stipulations are you have to be an active employee, meaning if you're on leave of absence, if you're suspended, different things that would cause you to be out of active status. Some policies stipulate that they will not pay if you were to pass away while you're in inactive status, even if you are still technically an employee, right? So that's one stipulation. Some policies stipulate that you have to actually pass away, like you would have to die while at work for this policy to pay out, right? So it's important to know the stipulations of the policy, right? And that's the same with any policy. Just like if you were to come to me and get a life insurance policy, it may be certain conditions, it may be certain exclusions, it may be certain stipulations. And if you pass away outside of those stipulations, or if you pass away from a cause that is excluded from your particular policy, the policy won't pay out. So just like it's important to read or know all the ins and outs of your private policy, it's also important to read and know all the ins and outs of your job policy, right? Then sometimes we don't know what the coverage amount, or we're not really sure on how much insurance the job is given. So we're not clear on that. So yes, there are circumstances where a job policy will not pay out. There are circumstances where a private policy will not pay out. And I'm not on here advocating for job policies because, like I said, I believe it's crucial to have a policy outside of your employer. However, I also feel that it's dangerous for us to just make blanket statements like that, If you have a job policy and it has certain stipulations and all of those stipulations are met and you pass away, that policy will pay out, just like my old life insurance agent, when I was at my old job, she said that a lot of times she would go, and she did policies for city and state government employees. And she said a lot of times she would go to the funerals of her clients because, sometimes people don't notify their beneficiary. Someone may be someone's beneficiary and they have no clue, right? So she would go to the funerals. Now, these were private policies that we have, but it was just, something that was for city and state employees, but they were private policies and we could take them with us if we left. But what she found is that a lot of times those clients would, say to her, oh, I received, a life insurance payout from the job. I didn't even know that they had. I didn't know that, they had. I wouldn't even have been looking for any other insurance because I thought that what the job paid out was all they had, right? So that in itself states that the job does, they do pay out. And I just don't want people being discouraged over statements that are misleading, that are vague, because even though most jobs will give you one time your salary in life insurance, and it's automatic, you don't even have to really sign up for it. It's just, it's automatic. Some jobs you do have to elect to get it. Some jobs offer you, additional life insurance at a small pay, just a fraction of the cost. But those kind of blanketed statements could cause somebody to say, well, I'm not going to sign up for that life insurance because it's not going to pay out anyway. A life insurance agent told me that job policies don't pay out, right? And what if for a time frame, that was the only insurance that someone could afford, and they decided not to get it because this life insurance agent is making blanketed statements that job policies don't pay out? So I just want you all to be aware of some tactics, I called it, I looked at the status like it was a clickbait status, Somebody will say something that grabs your attention, make like a really outlandish accusation, or, a status that's going to shock everybody into commenting. And then when you ask for follow up questions and the person says, I'm going to inbox you, that may be, that in itself is kind of a clue. And that was a little weird to me. Like, if you have several people, if you're making this statement, right, and you have several people coming to you asking for more info or clarity, or what do you mean, or, why do you have to individually inbox all of these different people when you can just explain it on the status, right? But if you know that you're saying something that isn't necessarily true, or that isn't the total truth, it probably is better to inbox people, because you don't want the explanation that you give, that is not true or is misleading, to be out in public where everybody can see, right? So if you're on social media and you see, very vague statuses that are making, outrageous accusations, but they can't tell you right there on the status, where they get the info from, or more details, about this right there on the status, that may be clue number one, right? That this is clickbait, or something about this isn't, right. But then if they, inbox you and the conversation goes in a total different direction than what it was supposed to be, inboxed about, that may be another clue. There are some agents, again, they are trained to push this certain type of policy like it's the best thing for everyone. It's the best thing since sliced bread. It's this is the only type of policy that you should have. And I don't think that their intentions are bad. Most of the agents are. Now the higher ups, I don't know what their knowledge level is, but I honestly feel like with this particular company, and I think it may be 2 or 3 other companies with a similar model. I think one of the other companies, they started out like it started out as one company, and then there was something that caused them to, some people to leave and create their own company. So their model is very similar. So it's like 2 or 3 companies that have like a similar, they're run very similar. So their agents are kind of similar, right? I'm not going to say that the agents have bad intentions. What I am going to say is that they don't really have the knowledge. It's kind of like if you grow up hearing bad things from your parents about the neighbor down the street. You may not have had any personal experiences with this neighbor down the street. You don't really know anything about this neighbor down the street outside of what your parents have told you. You may grow up and dislike this neighbor down the street. You may tell anyone who listens, don't like this, don't get close to that neighbor down the street. They can't be trusted. All the negative things that your parents told you about this neighbor down the street, you may pass it on to the next person, because that's the way you were trained by your parents to think about that neighbor down the street, right? So that's basically how I'm going to say the agents from this particular company operate is I don't believe they have bad intentions. They were just trained to believe certain things about certain other types of policies, right? Which in turn makes them look at agents who write these other type of policies in a negative way, because they were taught that these policies aren't good, which is kind of disheartening, because in order to get our life insurance license, we have to learn all about all of the different type of policies, right? So they should have this knowledge, and they should know why policies outside of just term policies could fit different families or other clients' situation better than a term policy, or why a certain type of policy may be in the best interest of a certain client. They should know this, because we all have to study the same material to pass our test, right? However, with the way this company trains their agents, because they have their own pre-licensing exams, they have their own pre-licensing course, and though the other stuff is kind of, the surface is scratched, they are really trained to know more about the products that they will be selling. So some of the knowledge, and then with this particular company, while you're training to get your license, studying to get your license, you're also actively being trained, right? You're going out, like you have a mentor, or that's the word you have a mentor. You're going out, you're going on appointments with them, so you're hearing their whole sales pitch. I'll use, because I'm trying not to use terminologies that will help you to pinpoint what company this is, right? So I'll say you're going out, you're hearing their sales pitch. So although you're studying to pass this test, and you may be getting information about these other policies, you're going out every day, or however many days a week that you're going out, and you're hearing from your mentor why these other policies aren't good, So just be careful. Just be careful. Do your own research. Even with me, I'm not saying come to my channel and listen to my videos, and what I tell you, just take it to be gospel. Don't even research what I say. Research what any insurance professional tells you. But again, I think it's dangerous when we make the blanket statements, and I don't want anybody to be discouraged because of something that they may have read that isn't entirely true. And this video is probably, it's not as long as it's about 29-minute mark. 29-minute mark. So that's pretty much what I wanted to say. And if an agent is kind of vague, or it's like they beat around the bush to tell you what company they're with, or you ask them some questions and they say something like, well, I'm going to connect you with my senior VP or something like that. They can't answer any of your questions up front, and they have to, certain things you just may want to look out for. But again, this is not a video that I'm saying, definitely that job policy is the best thing you can get. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that it's not a good idea for anyone to just flat out say job policies don't pay. And if you hear that, don't let that discourage you from getting a job policy. But even if you have a job policy, always, always, always have a private policy outside of your job. So I'm gonna end this here, and check out the link below for that article about the retirees who ended up with no life insurance. And again, this is the Neighborhood Insurance Lady. And I hope this video made sense, because I kind of feel like I might have been rambling. I don't know. But this is the Neighborhood Insurance Lady. And as always, I'm wishing you love, laughter, and life insurance. Talk to you soon. Bye.